All right, so this is the first conversation I'm having with another father on the Body of Work podcast. And I couldn't be more excited for this conversation because it's with somebody that I've known for over 20 years. And now that I'm shifting, or not even shifting, more upgrading the podcast to invite more conversations from other fathers, making it more fatherhood related, I'm just happy to really just tap into this conversation. And this guy is like another brother, a brother from another mother, I like to say. And to properly introduce him, like I said, I know this guy for more than 20 years, or I think even 25 plus years now, from high school up to this present day and age, where it's crazy to think from teenagers to now having kids of our own that are playing with each other is just kind of wild to think about. And as I was preparing for this conversation, I just realized, not until maybe most recent, but in the prior years, we never really sat down, or I never really sat down with him and talk about fatherhood, like really sit down and chop it up about fatherhood. And the person on my podcast today his name is Daryl. If you hear me call him Boya, just know I'm talking about the same person. It's just a name that I've been calling him over the years. And so yeah, just don't get it twisted. You'll hear Daryl, you hear Boya. It's the same person I'm talking to. So again, like I'm excited to chop it up with him in this conversation, but just curious, right? Boya, Daryl, how are you feeling coming into this? Because if I'm not mistaken, this is also your first time doing the podcast thing, right?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that introduction. I appreciate you having me here. And indeed, this is my first ever podcast. I was excited when you even pitched it to me. I was like, whoa, he actually invited me onto, the body of work, which to me actually really meant a lot. And I was looking forward to it the whole time. I was like, we're going to get there. Today's the day or whatever. So lovely for being here. I appreciate that invitation. Our praises be to the Most High, first and foremost, for me to be able to be here today and to have this
Definitely.
conversation. And like you said, we know each other for, I think, what, to be precise, 26 years. And I actually also thought about it, and I was thinking to myself, like, we know each other for 26 years, but roughly, okay, your son almost 9 years now, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken as well. 9 years that you're a father. So I also see like a development, a change in different things. We know each other, like you said, from school days. And now it's like 9 years of you being a father. First one out of us being a father as well is like, wow, it's a shift. But feeling really good to be here, man.
Nice, nice, nice. And you kind of touched on it a bit, but I wanted to ask you, like, when I asked you to be on a podcast, you didn't even hesitate, right? What was the first thing like you were thinking when I asked you about being on a podcast? Like, why didn't you even hesitate?
I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna do that throughout the whole podcast. I've been so excited to see the body of work and even the maybe the switch that you've been making now to really like talk about like fatherhood and express yourself in certain ways that I commend. Just putting yourself out there and just seeing the life. It brings life into you. Like every time I watch the podcast, it's like, yo, I've seen it, and I've been watching as a fan, like truly. And I was like, wow, the fact that I can actually be part of something like this, I find is amazing. I've been watching a lot of podcasts. I'm like, whoa, imagine. So when you brought it up to me, I was like, what? Sick, like, let's do it, man. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Now, I definitely want to say, like, I appreciate you for that because I mean, you're big into podcasts and stuff, but the fact that you would also take, or that you have been taking the time to check out the episodes that I would drop, it definitely does mean a lot. And it even though like I have been working on my own internal motivation, just knowing that there is someone, or there are, others out there as well that are getting some value from this, it just means a lot, because then it just reaffirms that, hey, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This is what I need to continue doing. So I definitely want to say, I appreciate you for that.
Love, brother, love.
Yeah. Um, all right. So let's just jump things off with because I didn't have a specific topic. I want to just keep it fatherhood broad and just see where the conversation takes us. So one of the first things I want to ask you is, and it's a broad question, so just take your time, think about it if you have to.
Mm.
But if someone comes up to you today, Daryl, who are you today as a man, as a father? Like, how would you answer that?
That's a very solid question. Um, if someone came up to me and asked me who am I as a man, as a father, I would say someone who is there for those that need me in times that they need me. Even in times when they may not be feeling up, I'm the one to put the battery in the back to say, "Hey, I know you can do it," and always give that like positive feedback. I feel like you can achieve so much by just having a proper support system in place, albeit that you're feeling maybe at a low, and then just being able to be there. I'll be one call away to like. I always feel it's wonderful, like when my brothers could say like, "Yo, this is what's going on. I want to talk to you about it," or the kids saying, "Hey, dad, or whatever. I need to get this, or I did this in school. What do you think about it?" It feels like it's so lovely to see the connection that I'm able to create with those individuals. My wife's having a day and she's like, "Hey, let's have a conversation," or she's like, "Hey, this is what happens." So I would say to be a man, to be a father, is actually having that, creating that support system, that safe space for those individuals to feel that they can reach out to me. I even hear like a quote that I wanted to mention as well as like Big Boy. He's also a radio host. And I heard
Mm-hmm.
him said, the best hood to be from is fatherhood. And I was like,
Mm,
oh, I felt that like to my core. I was like, damn, that's right. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's who I would say I am.
that's definitely dope. I love that. I love that last one. What hood are you from? Fatherhood. I guess I would love to be then known as a gangster or an OG
Yeah.
in fatherhood.
The
No,
best hood.
but that's dope. And you did say something that I wanted to just go in a little bit more on, because you talked about, or you mentioned, for you, being a man is being someone who is there to support others, the ones that you care about, and being the one to put, that, so to speak, that battery pack on their back.
Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering, right? When you put the battery on their back, like, how are you replenishing your own battery pack? Like, what do you do? Do you feel like that you're doing this? Like, what would you say about that?
That's a really good question, because I mean, how we often say like you cannot continue pouring into someone else's cup, but however we forget oftentimes to like replenish our own.
Yeah.
And I think for myself, if thinking about it actually is then seeing the gratification, seeing the love that comes off of it. Like if I do something, for example, just with the kids, like I'm able to help like my daughter when she's going through, like she's doing gymnastics at a point in time, and maybe she's struggling with something, and I'd be like, "I know you can do this. I've seen you done it before, whatever." And the fact that afterwards, in the moment, I could see her struggling through it at times, and at the end, she's like, "Look, I'm so yeah, I did it. I'm really proud." And that energy that I get off of it, and is like, "Wow, this is what I do it for." It's like it feels like it fills me back up. And I often also take some time to look after myself, whether it be like going to do some fitness or playing basketball, be something else that gives me that energy so I can be able to, be there and make sure that my cup is also being replenished for myself individually.
Yeah. And I mean, I know as a father, sometimes it can be difficult, it can be tricky to make that time for ourselves to fill our own cups.
Definitely.
Um, would you say that's always been something that was easy for you, and that's something that you've been able to do consistently?
Nah. Honestly, no. The thing about it is, I think I've always been the type to say, okay, service related, being more of uh, I so to speak selflessness, like just making sure everyone else is okay. And oftentimes I would forget about myself until points in time that maybe the energy starts to feel a bit off or feel a bit low. Then I started maybe reflecting a lot more. In this later stage of life, I started reflecting a lot more, trying to understand myself. to know what is it that isn't at the bar that it should be, to allow me to feel and, should I say, perform the best that I can do. And
Yeah.
so now is when I'm more really starting to take it like the health is wealth quote. I'm really trying to take that more into account. And I feel honestly that if the health is in place, a lot of things fall into where it should be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, you just said now more in this later stage of life is where, you're really focusing on the reflecting.
Correct.
Um, Maybe it's a little bit nitty gritty, but let's say before this later stage, like
Mm.
what would happen when, you weren't really intentionally taking the time to fill, your cup. Like, and
Mm.
what did Daryl then look like or behave or act like?
I think for myself, I realized that let me say it, I realized the energy and my, how should I say, being uplifting all the time, or maybe just being like in the moment of saying be more resolution based or whatever. I was
Yeah.
missing that because it was more like, hey, I don't have the, maybe the energy. I don't have the full energy that I usually have to be able to sort out things, or I didn't have a clear mind. Let me say it more like that. I didn't have a clear
Yeah.
mind to be able to dissect whatever I have in front of me. It would be more clouded, and I think that's more the fact that I wasn't actually properly taking care of myself, or just having that time for myself, so to speak. And it allowed me to then realize now later on, if I want to be able to perform for myself and those around me, I need to be able to start looking after myself. You know, so I think that's where it actually stemmed from. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a question I ask not to, put you on the spot or to highlight necessarily um the the lesser desired traits. But I mean, if I look at my own, from my own personal experience, I can say firsthand, like when I had those moments and periods where I was basically neglecting myself. So just like not properly ensuring that like I'm working out, or that I'm active, that
Mhm.
I'm grooming myself regularly, that I'm expressing myself in the different creative outlets the way that I want to. Then for me, Andy would become this very highly irritated person, lack of patience, um and then I start to project maybe what I feel like I'm not giving myself. Like I start to project it outward, and then the people who usually suffer from that are like the ones in my household,
It's
like
just
my
yeah.
wife, my
Mhm.
kids. um would you say like that's something similar in like you've experienced in your own, maybe in your own journey of
I would
this?
say to a certain degree, I think maybe not to that extent, because usually I am someone who kind of think that I can resolve it myself. I usually keep it in. There will
Mhm.
actually be points in time that I would realize that, hey, you know, I maybe overreacted in certain situations where my patience grew a bit thinner than usually. And then I was like, and those are the moments when I said, like, I usually kind of go back to start self reflecting, like, what was it actually that triggered me in that moment? Or I'm starting to come to the page, like, hey, if that's actually the case, I go back and say, like, hey, I'm sorry for what I did just now. After I had
Yeah.
the time to reflect on it, I can't say that in the moment I'm there with it, but once I had some time to myself, I kind of started looking into it a bit more. And like I said, really trying to understand myself a bit more and what makes me tick, I guess,
Yeah.
you know, and allows me to be who I am.
Yeah, I
But
think
I
that's
also,
when. Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
I also, for you, I was wondering, like, what was the immediate shift that you noticed once you started looking after yourself, opposed to when you were not? And like, what did it actually look like?
Yeah, the biggest shift is that you mentioned it before. It's energy.
Mm,
When you feel like taking care of yourself and so to speak, kind of like put yourself first,
Mm.
then you literally have this feeling of I can pour into others. I can bring a positive energy into the home. You're a lot more patient. You are a lot more accommodating. To what's happening around you, and I think that's been one of the biggest shifts for me. And then it starts. You feel it like emotionally,
Mm.
but then also mentally, physically. Yeah, I just feel, I just feel literally great overall. So
Right.
um and then that is felt from the ones closest to me, and then outward as well.
Yeah.
They just feel that shift. Like my wife,
Right.
she's one of the first ones to notice when my energy is off, because it's like first thing in the morning, I'm usually a very bubbly,
Right.
upbeat person. Like I'm a morning person, and so it's very easy to know when things are off.
Okay.
And it's not to say, and that's the other extreme you don't want to go to, where you can't feel like you can't have an off morning or an
Right.
off day,
Right.
or off mornings, etc. But it's how you deal with those mornings, and the people around you, and going through those periods.
Mm.
I think that's where a lot of growth, and yeah, part of it is reflection, has to take place.
Right. And I wonder what's the big taboo around putting yourself first?
The big taboo about putting yourself
What do
first,
you think? Yeah. What do you think?
yeah, yeah, no, I think, especially for men, I think, in society, it's kind of, and this is just me generalizing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Putting on men that you have to always be the strong one, right? You
Mm.
all you have to, again, like, be of service. You have to protect, you have to provide, like, those main characteristics of men. And then, when you're growing up as a young
Young
boy,
man.
you tend to hear these mantras or quotes, with like boys don't cry, or don't show no, like
Emotions or like
don't show no emotions, right?
yes.
Like no pain, no gain, like all those different type of things. They tend to condition you subconsciously, or yeah, subconsciously,
Yeah.
where it makes you feel like there is no space for you to put yourself first,
Mm.
right? Because there's so much responsibility, so many things that's needed and required from you. Like, there's no time for that. And
Right.
I think that's where I as one man within my household, I'm trying to bring a change now that I have a son as well, because firsthand I'm seeing the effects of not putting yourself, quote unquote, first, or not taking care of yourself.
Right.
And it doesn't benefit anyone. You can try to be this stoic and this strong person all the time,
Mm.
but there's nothing strong about, or courageous about, keeping emotions in, and then projecting it on your family. Like, tell me, where's the real strength in that? You know what I
Mm.
mean? So that's why I want to start having, that's why I love and want to start having more of these conversations,
Yeah.
where we can just like tackle these different topics,
Right.
and not necessarily try to persuade anyone, but it's more share from firsthand experience what it's been like, and what the change is also like.
Right.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, like I kind of talked a little bit about, like from being a kid growing up, the different things that you tend to hear. So I wanna kind of go back a bit, and I wanna ask you, if you think on the younger Daryl,
Mm.
right? Like, what kind of man did you think you were going to be? Did that question ever play out in your head? And when I say younger, it doesn't have to be like as a kid, maybe a teenager
Right.
ish. Like, what kind of man did you think you were gonna be?
Oh, that's a wonderful question.
Of
Wonderful question. Not to say I actually thought about it actively, but if I think about it now, I would say that I was thinking that I was gonna be a strong provider for my family who was able to um, regulate slash hide emotions that they feel, because I
Mm,
feel like that was what I was being seen in my surroundings, you know. At points in time, I commended it. I was like, wow, I can't believe you're that strong no matter what's going on. We don't see any like chink in the armor or anything like that. And I was thinking like that's what I want to be, you know. And later on, now in this shift, I started realizing like what I thought was a superpower may not be that much of a superpower if I think about the effects that it would have just being strong all the time, or being able to say this is what I'm feeling, but I don't need to portray it because I need to be strong for those around you. So I think it's more of a, as we always know, like the protection phase of like saying I need to protect my family. So by me put, for example, my father protecting our family, he would then be keeping to himself, even though maybe he going through whatever it may be, he's being strong. I see my father like just stand on everything else, you know. So it's like,
yeah.
whoa, that's crazy. So
Yeah, and I mean, as a young boy, right? Like when you look at your father, I mean, you don't know better, so of course, it's like you see this man, this guy is strong, he lifts
correct.
heavy stuff. You know, this is your father. Like this is your guy. And you did say that in seeing that, like you noticed the effects of it. Um, I don't know how much you would want to go into it, but like when you talk about those effects, what what did that do to you? Because I would assume maybe, or if it impacted you, what did that impact look like,
Mm,
or what did it look like by someone else if it wasn't you?
right. I would say seeing my father, seeing Champ in that situation is like realizing that, okay, being strong, that I assume that being strong looked like this. Like my father's been a Mason for a long time, so I just seen him strong. You're like, whoa, you know, this guy's a real man or whatever, as we would portray it or whatever. But then I realized that my father is one who is very much not a man of many words.
Mm-hmm.
And he would then, I would also notice that, of course, he goes to work, and like I said, he's working in the sun, building houses, everything else. So I could imagine that he comes home tired, but then noticing that when he comes home tired, then there's a certain, then he just needs to, he like locks it in, I need rest. But then that rest made it seem like, okay, he was more distant in that sense, like maybe I wanted to play, or maybe there was something else that I wanted to do, like, hey, you know, but I kind of realized that he needed that rest because he was working so hard. But then I
And
miss those kind of things. And even my father is like, you know, the Caribbean way is like, yo, be a man, or, you know, to even to this day is like, I've never heard my father tell me in these words, I love you, you know? So it's
mm-hmm.
like, it may seem, don't want to say it may seem like something small, but
Yeah,
then just the fact that oftentimes maybe at that age and now reflecting, you might look at it as like you need to decipher like the love. But then when I look back at it, I was like, yeah, he loved me in different ways, you know? And for him, I think it's a manner of being soft to be able to tell your son, because I'm his only son, I don't
yeah,
have 12 sisters. Be able to tell your son like, hey, you know, I love you, because that's soft, and maybe that's not what he wanted me to become or whatever it may be, you know. So even to this day, I kind of just keep poking him a little bit, to see. And if my mom's like, just say it, you know. So
yeah,
it's like, but like just that goes to say, like, you know, you reach to a point and stage, like you have to maybe start questioning it a bit, and then later on, when you luckily when you get older enough and be able to have that, um, I guess, bandwidth mindset to say like, oh, I see it showing up in different ways. So maybe by him not saying I love you, then I could see it now. But in those stages, it's kind of difficult, I would say.
yeah. So yeah, so it's basically, you know, like what at least what I'm hearing is to some degree, it would have been nice to hear it, growing up. And of course, now when you're older and you're looking back, I guess being a father yourself,
Mm,
you can now, with your higher level of thinking, kind of, like you said, decipher and look back at his actions and say, okay, like, yeah, I know now. I know, like, my father did love me. Like, I know
mm,
he did love us. Um, and then for you, you basically had to find solace in saying, in thinking, okay, yeah, okay, my father loves me, even though
mm,
he's not saying it. I know he loves me. So then, to that, what I want to ask you is, what is it with this, with this idea of maybe tell and let's go real specific, telling your son, I love you. Like, what is it about that makes a man, or a Caribbean man, or just a man in general, think that that's soft?
mm.
And like, how are you approaching that with your own son?
Right. Yeah, man. Let's unpack some stuff. I think this is a beautiful conversation. Let's talk about some taboos. Let's talk about how we make it feel. I think for my for Caribbean fathers, I might be generalizing a little bit. But due to different conversations that I have with like other brothers or whatever it may be, I realize that there's a theme. And I think it's just a matter of the time frame that they grew up in. There was a lot of, okay, men need to be a certain way, which was shaped by society, I believe. Like, men needs to be strong. Men used to be the ones who used to go out and needed to work hard and come back home. So therefore, I think that they needed to think that being strong meant in all aspects of life, or not being able to like show any emotions, maybe even though they're going through something hard. I think, that specifically is then telling someone that you love them. It also shows a certain emotion, and that emotion in itself shows, dare I say, some sort of vulnerability. Because the
Hmm.
moment that you show someone you love you, that means like you do have my heart. So be
Yeah.
careful with it, or I want to let you
Mm.
know about this. And I think just men amongst each other was always be like, yo, yeah, man, you're good. Because we're not supposed to say, like, hey, I love you, or whatever, or something like that. So then I realized, like, yo, at the point in time, I was like, yo, what does it mean? Like, if you care for this person or whatever, what does it mean to say love you or whatever? Or like, or I would say, like, yo, love, just let you know, like, yo, you don't need to think about it. Or my embrace is like, I don't want to bubs, let me come give you a hug. And that's how
Yeah.
I really started like connecting. So maybe going to the second part of your question as well. Oh, to end the first part, I think showing emotions is seen as soft
Yeah.
for men in the Caribbean, especially because they needed to be a certain type of way as well, or maybe it's conditioning at that stage. But with my son, I think it's quite interesting to see the shift, because I guess as fathers, we usually, if we have managed to reach to that point of like that higher level thinking, we kind of start reflecting on what was I missing to make sure to be able to give our kids that component, because we understand how it made us feel, and we want to make sure that we can not right the wrong, but kind of fill in that gap what we were missing at that point in time, right? So with my son, I don't think he needs to question, because I'll be like, hey, I love you, or I would go and give my son a hug and a kiss. Before, that would never be my father giving me a kiss. Are you
Yeah.
mad? Like,
Yeah.
never. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like crazy, bro. It's like, um but yeah, like I give him my son kisses or whatever. He could be doing something before they go to sleep. I love you, or I just come and I realize, like, it's funny because I was thinking about it this morning as well. I have this thing when I drop off the kids. I drop off my daughter first. We give hugs, kisses, and she then hugs her brother and gives a kiss. He like, have a good day in school. And then we go to my son, drop him off at class. So I usually be able to walk into the class with him or whatever. So we have a ritual like, hey, okay, you found your place where you need to sit.
Hmm.
Whoops, give him a hug. And then I give him a kiss and I leave. And then he's like, bye. But at the moment he realizes, wait, I didn't give my father a kiss as well. He's like, hey, Dada, Dada, wait. And he comes, he hugs me and gives me a kiss, like in front of everybody. And I was thinking to myself, it's so beautiful to see that he feels comfortable enough to say, like, yo, I don't care what's going on. Maybe he's not even aware of it, but the fact that he's
Yeah.
doing that already shows me like, hey, or even if I'm home, brother, like he comes to me, I'm sitting on the couch, he comes, hug me, give me a kiss. I'm like, what's that for? He's like, because I love you. And
Hmm.
those kind of things is like what really does it, you know? And I want to shift and thing as well to say like I've also seen you display this kind of love for your son as well. You know,
Hmm.
he's always been that father, even when it was less cool to do it.
Yeah.
You were the
Yeah.
one to actually have that kind of composure, be like that with your son. Like what gave you that comfortability to say like, hey, this is what I want to do, or this is, I don't care what anyone else thinks. This is what I'm doing with my son.
Um, I think it's, but first of all, good. Like, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that you shared there. And I appreciate that question you're throwing back. I think for me, it's similar to what you experience as well. Probably feel like when you look back, it's like you kind of felt like, not necessarily, yeah, missing that component a little bit of the warmness, so to speak. And I guess for myself, what I wanted was for my son to never question if his father loves him, right? And to feel that because he's a boy, I need to like not hug him or not tell him I love you, because he's a boy. Because
Mm,
if I do that, it's like what's the message that I'm giving him, like that he's not worthy of like getting love from his father, right? Like that, or that might, or that he needs to learn to see the things that I'm doing for him to know that I love him, kind
mm,
of teaching him that he only shows love by doing stuff, and then making that shift from, you're not here as a man. Yes, you're here. Of course, you have responsibilities as a
mm,
man. Just like a woman has responsibilities as well. But for him, like I want him to also not feel like he needs to do something in order to show someone that he loves them, for how, but just for being
mm,
that he is deserving of love, and deserve and just to give love in general.
mm,
Um, and I don't know. I think it was just this thing of, I don't see, like you touched a bit, where if you say love, if you say I love you to your son, that it's something soft.
mm,
It's like, I think the fact that as a man you feel comfortable doing it, it just shows that you are comfortable with yourself, right?
mm,
Like, and that's a level of courage, a level of strength. Any macho man who don't want to say I love you, then who's the real punk then? So to speak.
mm.
I mean, yeah, yeah. I guess that's what it comes down to. I just never want him to question, like, if I love him.
Okay.
And so, I said I would make it my business to always say it, to always kiss him for as
Mm,
long as he, wants to
correct.
get a kiss from Papa. Because I mean, he'll come to this age where he'll just not find it maybe cool, and then we'll
Mm.
have another conversation then. But yeah, yeah. No, but until then, I think that's it. And the thing is with kids as well, they tend to, even without knowing, like, make comparisons. So it's
Mm,
like, if he at a given point like sees me maybe kissing and hugging my daughter and telling her like I love you, and I don't do that by him, like, you know, a kid has a very simple mind. So then he's going to say, hey, if Papa is doing this and telling her I love, and telling, Zora, in this
mm,
case, my daughter, I love her, but not me, but then he might not, then he might, I don't think he loves me. And I don't
mm.
even want to start to think like what kind of trauma that's going to build
That's
up
in fact
inside of him,
correct. Correct.
right?
Mm,
Um, so that's why in that regard, I'm like, yo, I don't care how it looks, how it comes across to other people. I'll hold his hand in public. I'll hug him deeply in public, kiss him, whatever the case is, just because, that's what I want to do. And that's
mm,
what I want him to always feel that he
Yeah.
looks back and think, I can't remember everything that Papa did, but I always felt Papa's love,
Mm.
right? Um, yeah, yeah. But there was something that you said that I wanted to touch on, but it's slipping me. But yeah, anyway, maybe I'll it'll come back to me.
My bad one.
Nah, that's all good. That's all good. But I just, I love the direction that it's going, and
Mm,
like what's coming forward.
mm,
And I guess when it comes to fatherhood, for you, it's a big. I mean, for anyone becoming a father, for any man becoming a father, it's a big change.
mm,
A change that you couldn't even fathom, even if you had the desire to become a father, like what that would like look like and do for you.
mm.
So I want or do to you. So I want to know like what changed for you when you became a father.
What changed me when I became a father?
And you can take it wherever direction you want. Like,
Yeah. Um, I felt like there's so many things that changed from me
mm-hmm,
becoming a father, but I think the most important one for me is to know that I have someone depending on me when I became a father. And I think that was the extra push wake up call to say, hey, this individual, my daughter's now 6, this individual needs you. It doesn't matter roughly how things are going, but then this person can't stand on their own. This person needs to be fed. This person needs to be taken care of, everything else like that. So it allowed me to tap into a next level of service that I needed to provide. Because without me, only looking from my side as well, as a father, whatever, this person won't be able to make it through life, And also the
yeah,
fact that even for my wife, I realized like, hey, hey, you had a baby. So I also need to be to look after her and just make sure that everything is good. Like, and so being a father showed me like, hey, there's gonna be this person that's gonna depend on you to be able to teach them about life.
yeah,
And in teaching them about life, I also would need to then understand life. And that allowed me to start saying like, started looking at life a lot different. The world changes, especially as least for me as well. Having a daughter first, you always have that natural instinct to say like, okay, I need to be the protector, I need to shield her from everything else. But then I
mm-hmm,
made a shift to say like, what if I don't shield her? What if I just inform her? What if I give her the building blocks that she may need? Like, hey, I would love to shield you, but honestly speaking, I won't be able to shield you for everything. But if I'm able to give you the necessities on the building blocks for you to stand on your own, you may know that this block may not be exactly this situation, but you could take a component out of this block and apply it, or even know what to look out for to kind of see it coming ahead of time. So I think for me, that was the biggest thing that I can do is like expose them to as much life as they can handle, and of course given the space that they're in mentally or whatever, but then just break it down each time. So even times like if my daughter would come to me and she would ask me about something, she asked something stumped me sometimes, and she like, hey dada, what is water, what does water come? I was like, "Hey, go ask your mother." Like just because those kind of things, I'm like, yo, I don't even understand how to break that down for you or whatever. And the
yeah,
wonderful thing when I saw is like she's even telling me, it's like, she's like, Dad, I have a crazy question. I said, fire away. And then she's like, this is okay, let's go. And then when she hit me with that water, I was like, whoa, wait,
that
it's on a
that's
little
too
too.
crazy. You
That's
would think
too
that was
crazy
good.
for me though.
Yeah, that's too
Yeah.
wild.
Go to your mother. Go to your mother. Let's see if she could think. And then it was so funny. Like, she was like, did you ask your father already? And like, we playing ping pong, because no one knows how to do it. But
Yeah.
even the fact that I think I was just having a conversation with her and she was like asking me about certain things. And I told her, like, I have a certain coping mechanism. And, like if I'm just trying to bring down my levels of stress or whatever, I would hum, sing, do something. And then she picked up on it.
Mhm.
And she asked me, she's like, Dada, why every time like something goes wrong or we're misbehaving or something, you always initially go over to like, you instantly, sorry, go over to like humming or singing. I told her like, it's just me self-regulating, you know? And I told her like, it's my coping mechanism. And she's like, what's a coping mechanism? And then it made me to start thinking like, it's interesting to have these questions because now I have to then learn how to explain to her.
Yeah,
And this is just giving me like more practice to be able to explain her different things in life at points in time that she may be able to comprehend. So
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, maybe a
Okay.
long-winded answer, but
No, 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 no. But I wanna, just go back, rewind a little back to
yeah.
something you said initially, talking
Mm,
about the building blocks, because one of the, like, something like I heard and or read was, and it felt so hard hitting, was that a father's biggest fear is kind of leaving this world and kind of like feeling like he hasn't given his kids enough tools to
mm,
like survive when he's not there. And I mean, it's not from a egotistical point of
mm.
view, but you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, yeah,
I
definitely.
think what you said there is something every father probably feels innately, where
Mm,
he's like, of course you're gonna protect your daughter. You know, she's young, she's vulnerable, and at the same time, like you said, you want to give her like the tools in
mm,
her, like what you like to say, in her backpack,
mhm.
that she can use throughout life.
Correct.
Um, would you say like that's a fear of yours as well?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think that's a big thing, and sometimes you kind of question as much like what all or how to give them the specific building blocks, and I find it's very interesting, like how you said, like it may be a fear that they maybe even realize that hey, but I think it's just being able to make them as equipped as possible for life gives you a sense of peace. Like okay, I may not be able
Yeah,
to tell you everything, but just to have that sense of peace, like hey, I think you have it then that helps me, you know.
yeah. Okay, okay. And what
Yeah.
would you say is the hardest thing about being a father for you?
Wow. Hey, these questions are lovely, bro. 'Cause it makes you really start thinking like, I think my the same strength that I have had or the feeling that I had when I became a father in like knowing someone depends on me is
Yeah.
letting go of that role to let them stand on
Um,
their own.
mm,
So yeah, so it can be looked at both sides, you know, because now it's like, okay, how do I let them fly on their own? How do I let them fall on their face and get back up? You know, because I'm more like I want to be there to catch you or whatever. You know, so
yeah.
I'm starting to work on and unlearn, not unlearn, but try to kind of turn it down a bit and saying like it's okay for them to try. So I guess for me, it's just more of just putting them in certain situations that I can see that they are capable of doing it, even if they fall or whatever. Like something as simple as crossing the road. You
Yeah.
know, teaching them to cross the road. Like, yo, wait, wait, wait. Did you look left, right? Look again, you know? And if I
Yeah.
if I see it go wrong one time, I was like, yo, especially my son, like he just thinking about I need to get to this other point. It's like, yo, stop right there, come back across the road, let's look. You know, so it's like, and now that I'm able to see him doing that more frequently, like I see him walking and he stops and he looks, it allows me to then think, you're all right. You know, you're on the path. So I could trust more. It would never be like zero, but I could trust more that he is capable or they're capable of doing certain things and they'll be just fine. I would
Yeah.
say that's what it is.
Yeah. So that's kind of coming back to that fear, what I was talking about. Kind of like wondering if you're gonna be able to equip your kids with enough tools. You're saying like the hardest part of fatherhood for you is knowing one day you have to let go of the reins and let them be their individual selves,
Hmm.
and wondering like like did I give them enough? Like did I give them everything that um I needed to give them? And I'm
Correct.
not even gonna lie, like if I think about it, it's a I don't think it's a feeling you'll ever feel like like your bar is 100%, like fully, fully equipped
Facts.
them.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll ever happen. But it's indeed, it's a real, it's going to be a real challenge of letting go of those reins and and just having faith and trust
Mhm.
that, just like you at a given point weren't taught everything and had to figure, stuff out yourself, that you've equipped them with those essential, that those essential abilities of saying, like, no matter what, even if Papa hasn't given it to you yet, Papa has full confidence in you, and you should have full confidence in yourself that you will, you know, be like Papa, very
Right.
resolution based,
Right.
you
Right.
know, patient, and just with a like to say, like one gear go mentality,
Correct.
right? Yeah, so that's a nice one. That's a nice one. And now that we're talking about your kids, and we touch base on your father a bit,
Hmm.
would would you say you were taught how to feel and how to express yourself growing up? Um, and if so, like, maybe who did you get it from? And if not, like, what like, how do you feel about that?
Hmm. Well, I would I would say that I never got the how should I say, the instructions, or got the feeling of how I should be able to deal with emotions.
Hmm.
I think what I've actually managed to obtain from my father is how to be strong even though you don't have emotions. And that's another thing as well, right? Like it showed me to say like, hey, I need to be able to learn how to distinguish or identify certain things that I could manage a bit more. Just because I know the other party may take it a bit too much or take it too rough. So then I look at those kind of things, and my father, like I said, he was like a super strong, if you look at it that way, to say like, okay, I'm just gonna keep everything on myself, emotionally, whatever. But so I kind of take those. I really believe, like I said, like you can learn something for anybody. So I learned
Yeah.
that from him, and I started to say like, okay, what actually out of this package serves me, you know, and I take that to with me in my backpack of life, experience of life or whatever. And then now it's shifting more. I started, I guess, gradually started like realizing that, hey, what I've missed, I would like to have. And I think getting more, I think me and you recently spoke about it, like started seeing people like Jason Wilson, like speak about certain things and allow me to start saying like the things that I feel is not uncommon.
Yeah.
The lack that I feel is not uncommon, or the pressures that we may have from society to feel a type of way, like, hey, I need to be strong, I need to be alpha, blah blah blah, whatever you name it, of the standard things. Started to allow me to say, hey, this could be different, and I
Yeah.
could see why it would have a lot more, I will call it, benefit for me having my kids as well, to allow them the space to say like, let me know how you're feeling. Let me know, to
Hmm.
have a look in your mind as well.
Yeah.
Just talk. Let's just talk or whatever. Because if I wanna, and for me, it was about creating that space that they feel good enough, and I hope that's something that I'll be able to take with me even when they get super old, that they feel like they could come to me and talk about anything.
Yeah.
And it won't necessarily be out of a, I think, of a friendship base, but it's more like someone who's trying to like just hear you out. Maybe you need a soundboard, someone who's trying to look out for you. That's the stance that I'm willing to take, and I want to take from them. Even if I'm gonna get upset, that's something that they gotta know, like it's gonna come with it, but it's always out of a place of love that we're gonna try to resolve it, or say like, hey, maybe next time you should be doing it this way, or whatever it may be. And also,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't
No,
know.
it's interesting. Yeah. No, it's interesting that um, that you mentioned, not necessarily being their friend, but being someone that they know that they can come to, because and I don't know how this is for you, but just
Mm.
quickly, like if you were to think back when you were feeling maybe doubt or insecurity about something, like who was the first person that you could turn to? Eh,
Um, I would say it would have to be one of my either my cousin or a friend or whatever who's maybe roughly around the same age, just to express that.
And I mean, and again, it's not to like take away from, your parents,
Yeah, yeah.
but would you have loved if you had feel like they could have been that first person that you felt comfortable to and open to say, I can come to mama with this, or I could come to papa with this, or go to them with this?
Of course, that would have feel a lot better, and also to the sense of you get advice as someone
Yeah,
who's in a different stage of life as well. Of course,
yeah,
amongst your peers and amongst those who's there, is like you just actually having a mirror up and say like, "Hey, I'm talking to this, but that person as well." It's just at that stage of
yeah,
life. So the whatever advice that they may be able to give may not be as impactful as if it came from my parents. But then, I think along the way, my parents would then like just drop gems and standard
yeah,
things as they're going by, like, hey, remember this, or be mindful of this, be careful how people tell you certain things or whatever. But if I'm in the moment of feeling like emotions or something like that, I would be more like, oh, quicker to go to a brother or something like, hey.
yeah. And that's why I think the work that we're doing now as fathers, as men, in terms of making emotions a topic of discussion,
Mm.
not making it this taboo thing, like something that you have to feel bad for having, negative emotions, or, not non-positive
Yeah.
emotions, that those are seen as, yeah, just like something is wrong with you. And keeping that channel open between you and your kids so that, when they feel insecure or shame or upset, that they know that there's this open line communication that I can go to papa and I can go to mama and just like express it, and that there's no weird vibe
Yeah.
around it. So yeah, so I think it's, again, I commend the work that we're doing, as men, as fathers, the work that you're doing as well in the last couple of years. And I want to encourage you, to continue doing that. And, with that said, you touched on kind of like that notion of knowing that we're not the only ones, as we sometimes may thought, like feeling certain things or experiencing certain things. And we have this space called the Soil Brotherhood. It's a space, that we created for men who who want to be a better man for their families, right? And so what we work on is our ability to be transparent emotionally. So what I want to know from you, right, in regards to the Soil Brotherhood, like what has that experience been like for you being around other fathers?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned like not feeling alone. Um, because I honestly think that thinking that you're the only person going through whatever situation you may be going through, it feels like 10 times heavier. And especially if you're in it and you have your blinders on, like what they put on horses and stuff. You're like, man, I can't believe I must be the only person in the world going through this. But then when now the community that we've actually created is so beautiful to see that people are coming in there, and I commend you as well for creating this brave space, of allowing us to say like we could come in, drop the shield, and be able to say like, yo, this is how I'm feeling today, or this is what I'm struggling with, or whatever it may be. And even just the challenges that we have to like, hey, how can we be more present, how can we do this? But going back to your question, is that it feels wonderful to have people there who also can relate to certain things and be able
Yeah,
to get that advice that we spoke about as well. Getting advice from someone else, and most beautifully, is from a different vantage point. Because of course you're in a situation you only see it like this, and someone else
Yeah.
shows something else, and it makes you like, wait, I never look at it this way before. And
Yeah.
it allows you to say, okay, maybe I can take that into consideration. Oh yeah, this actually makes sense. I think what the brotherhood is turning into is something that I see is beautiful and beneficial for like a lot of men.
Yeah. Nah, definitely. I hands down agree with you. It- that feeling of just knowing that you're not alone and you're not the only one is, I don't know, it's something that words can't fully describe. And you would think that, most men, or yeah, men would be willing to have these conversations more, so that they know that they're not the only one. And I'm saying this now, but when I started it or had the idea, I thought to myself, would men even be willing to be part of a space like this? Would to quote unquote let their guards down and start having these conversations? So why do you think like men have such a hard time having these conversations, and why don't they have more of these conversations, like around maybe the pressures, or like the heaviness that they're feeling, or that pressure we feel to provide? Like, why don't men have more of these conversations?
If I could say it simply, I think it's social conditioning.
Hmm.
And that goes into just saying like these are not these are not things that are much spoken about. These are things that are maybe frowned upon to a certain degree on men having emotions. So therefore you kind of fall into that loop of saying that I guess this is how I should be.
Oh yeah.
Um Vulnerability is a big thing that people always see, sorry, men would see at certain times as something as um soft vulnerability,
Yeah.
but there's so much strength in being vulnerable to be able to say I don't have everything figured out, I don't have everything, because you allow yourself to then create that space to say, okay, if I don't have it figured out, how can I get to that point? And along that journey you kind of realize so many different things that help you to become even a better man, better father, whatever it may be. If we continue to tell ourselves like, it's good, I don't need to be vulnerable or whatever, we keep everything in, and then no one else knows about it, the weight, like I said, 10 times heavier. You start breaking it down more and more on the inside, but you start saying that I'm not even the same person, I don't recognize myself anymore. And
Yeah.
that's maybe due to the fact that we don't want to be able to be honest and say like, hey, this is it, you know?
Yeah. I
So,
fully agree with you. And I think there's something, and I heard this also from Jason Wilson.
mm,
And for those who don't know Jason Wilson, like just Google him.
yeah.
Awesome, awesome guy. He said something that just like you said, sometimes people say these things that make you think like, okay, maybe that's why I've been having this kind of like aversion to a specific word. So like, for example, the word that you're using, vulnerability, I think a lot of men, and I can speak for myself,
Mm,
felt a little type of way with this word vulnerability, because to be vulnerable kind of implies that you're basically putting yourself, or you're in a state where someone can cause you physical harm. And I
mm,
think no man wants to feel that way. And so that's why also when we're in these spaces and in creating the space, I I realize it's not it's part of it is vulnerable, falls under vulnerability, but I think where men can relate to and then find like real resonance with is being transparent, because then
mm,
it speaks to that, what we're implying when we say, you should be vulnerable, you should be okay opening up. And but a man doesn't want to feel like he's putting himself in a way to be harmed, like
correct.
physically or whatnot.
Yeah, well
But
said.
again, like that's a little side note. But what
Yeah.
do you, and your experience, right? Because like you've been sharing so much in the space as well. Like, what do you think happens when men actually start opening up?
First, I think just being able to be seen. I think oftentimes maybe men feel like they're, because they need to be the head of the house, they need to be this strong person or whatever. They often keep things in, and I think it allows them to feel like maybe they're on the back burner or something like that, you know. Albeit it may not be the case because they're receiving the love, but the space allows us. What I've seen is that first they need to be seen because they're like, wow, you know, I'm happy that I'm able to come in here and be able to say this, and there's no judgment. You know,
Yeah.
I think he did a very good job of like just outlining like this is what this space is, this is what we do tolerate, this is what we don't tolerate, and to be able to allow us to say like, hey, if I could come in here and I could be open, I know that the people who are in here are also gonna be those individuals with likewise mindset, to be able to say I'm gonna just give you that space. And what I've noticed continuously through the people who are in there is always a sense of love. There's no judgment. There's like, hey, I can maybe understand you're going through this. Keep your head up. Or to try this, or this is what works for me. And I think the more that we can kind of also show them that it's not only them dealing with it,
Yeah.
and we are also dealing with it to a certain degree, maybe not exactly. It allows the person to say, "Phew," for me at least, I'm being seen. I have other people in there saying like, "Hey, yo, let's do this or whatever else." It's a beautiful thing, man. To be like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, more spaces like this need to, come about where the threshold is extremely low,
mm,
because of this social conditioning and men feeling already this pressure to, you know, open up, so to speak, that we have these spaces to that where the threshold is low, that a guy can enter and then kind of like, like breathe and just feel like, okay, I can quote unquote like be myself here. And of course, as a father, as a man, we tend to feel like we have to have things figured out, or that we're not doing what we should be doing, or that we are almost like failing as a father, or as a man, because we think certain things need to be in place. As we're nearing the end of this conversation, what is a message? I want you to speak to the father watching this conversation, or speak to the woman, the wife, the partner of a father, of her man, who is, the father of their kids, watching this conversation, and he's feeling like he is messing up. He's not where he wants to be in life. Like, what would you tell that father right now?
hmm. I would like to tell the father, if I speak to you right now, to say, please don't see your mistakes as something that's not good. And we often talk about taking L's, taking losses, but if we actually take that loss and turn the L to stand for a lesson, I think if you can take that component out of it, you will go so far. And just being able to know that to be, it's okay not to be okay. Let me start there,
Yeah,
because the moment that we start to understand that, hey, I don't need to keep everything up in the air and something can fall, it's okay. And to the partner of the man, the father, whatever it is, I would say then, please just do some check-ins at times. Albeit that they may seem that they have everything under control, they may need that, just, hey, are you good? Um, I realize this, or do you need some time? Or whatever it may be, because that goes a long way, because then they are then also what I talked about before. They be seen, they now feel like, hey, the person that I love is actually now trying to say that I want to check in on you as well for all that you've
yeah.
been doing. You know, so I would say that's what I would like to leave it at.
I got goosebumps when you said that, man. Yo, oh my gosh, yeah, I got, yeah. I'm not even gonna lie. I felt goosebumps when you said, to the partner, it's like checking from time to time, because
Mhm.
even though you may see a smile, on the outside, like that person or that man can sometimes be feeling like a total wreck on the
Mhm.
inside, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's a good one. But yeah, so we're nearing the end of this conversation, like I said, and I used to do this thing previously with other conversations where I have this rapid round of questions, and so I'm basically gonna fire a few questions at you, back to back. I don't want you to overthink. Just kind of like go on instinct, the first thing
Okay.
that comes to your mind, and then I'll give you one final prompt to
Yeah.
fill in.
Okay.
Um, Something I think I'll do in further conversations, and then
Hey,
see
at the
like
first
how.
one. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, and maybe see if we, if we chop it up again, like
Mm.
what how that may change for you. But
Okay.
first, we're gonna get into the rapid round. Let me know. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, cool. What's something you're currently working on becoming, or working on as a man, as a father, that the people should know about? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's a good one. I think aware,
Mm,
being more aware of what's going on and how people are doing.
okay. Okay. What's something about you that people don't really see, but you wish they understood?
Can you say that question again, please?
So, what's something about you
Mhm.
that people don't really see, but you wish they understood?
Wow, that's a question, boy. Don't deceive. I wish they understood. It may sound weird, but the level of love that I have,
Hmm.
I love that because just maybe briefly is just to say like the reason that I may be giving some kind of feedback advice or is always out of place of love. I never want to be out of place like causing harm or maliceness. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. That's a nice one. All right. I need you to be completely honest on this
yeah.
one. Like, completely honest.
Uh,
Who's the better cook, you or your wife?
this is an easy one. This is an easy one. Me, of course, 1000%. But
I'm definitely sending this part of the conversation to her.
nah, for
All
sure,
right.
hands down. She got that. She got a chef hat. Lock and
Yeah.
load. I coming for it though. I start to fix myself a little bit.
Okay. And a little sub question to this
Yeah.
one, like, what's your signature dish?
Ooh, that's a good one. I have been messing around a lot more with like I would say like seasoned rice with
One.
steamed beef and whatever side I want to do. Me and the pressure cooker are having like a love relationship right now, and I've been really trying to test that out.
Okay. Yeah. Exploring that, exploring those
Yeah, yeah, for
vibes.
sure, for sure. Before I would have said
Okay.
chicken pasta or something like that, but now I'm really
Upgrading.
that's a good one. Bro. I love these questions. Head away, let go.
Okay. Okay. What's a moment with your kids that always makes you laugh?
It would have to be if I think of a recent one. It would have to be sing-alongs on our way to school or coming back home from school. To see them
Uh,
how they act all crazy and stuff is a beautiful thing for me. Man.
I love it. Love it. And if your kids grow up and take one thing from you, what do you hope it is?
Uh, I would say my selflessness.
Mm,
Yeah.
nice. I thought you were gonna say your great smile, but
Nah, nah,
selflessness,
not at all. I hope you don't. Yes.
selflessness works. Selflessness
Yeah.
works.
You're so sweet. Yeah.
Okay, and now the top of the top question,
Yes, sir.
which is gonna come back from time to or come
Yes,
back
sir.
recurringly. Being a father means, and I'll fill in the blank. So being a father means.
Being a father means Okay. Being a father means someone who is there to support, someone who is there to listen, someone who is there to make sure that those around them feel that they can do what they set their
Mm,
mind to. But I would also say being a father means also being able to look after self.
I love that last part. I love that last part. All right. All right. For those listening, or for those listening, if you are listening, if you're a father and you're a man listening to this, I want you to also just reflect, take a moment and reflect on that last prompt that I gave. Being a father means, and I want you to just take some time and fill that in honestly for yourself. Um, and then let me know, what comes out of it. All right,
Sweet.
Boya,
That's a
boy,
sweet prompt.
Boya, this was your first podcast
Yes, sir.
experience ever. What I just want to know, what are you feeling right now? Like where are you right now?
Um, Coming into it, like I mentioned before, like I felt like excitement, looking forward to us having this call. I think now in it, I feel like just a sense of joy, like the fact
Yeah,
that we're able to have this conversation. And I think for myself, just knowing that this conversation helped me, just having that once, because it allowed me to unpack certain things, allowed me to kind of focus on certain things. But I also love the fact that we're having these conversations to let others know, other men know that it's okay to have these conversations and the
yeah,
impact that we could possibly have, going to have, you know.
yeah, on one another. I
And I
totally agree.
appreciate you for also allowing me to feel comfortable enough that I even forgot that we were recording at times. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
we're having a conversation. So, yo, you're doing a beautiful job, man. Real talk.
I, I appreciate that, brother. And you did amazing too. Again, I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day, making time on your schedule to have this conversation because I do believe, if there's a father listen to this or someone who knows a father or a man who needs to hear this conversation is going to find a ton of value
Mhm.
just in the shared experiences that was delivered here today. So again, thank you for taking the time out
Love, brother.
and doing this. All right. In closing this off, I did make mention to a space that we have. It's called the Soil Brotherhood. It's a space specifically dedicated only for fathers. It's free to join, so you can check the space out. I'm going to have a link in the description wherever you're listening to this podcast episode. I want to thank you, the listener, for taking the time out to listen to this completely. It means a lot. And I love every ounce of support that comes towards this podcast because it just helps feed into the energy to keep this podcast alive. Again, thank you guys for listening, and I'm going to see you in the next one.